Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we will see Kustomize. It's K, not C. So Kustomize is a native configuration management tool inside your Kubernetes cluster, which comes as a sub command of the kubectl. But you can install your standalone Kustomize CLI as well. But before we jump into the customize, we will start today's discussion with the same question which we raised in our Helm discussion. Why we need to customize the thing, right? Because in Helm also we have understood that there is a challenge when you manage your application over the time, right? Since maybe it's just a first version of your application and you are starting that application, right? Maybe with some basics file only, let's say deployment.yml, maybe service.yml, and maybe config map.yml. But over the time, right, when you build up your application, when you enhance the feature inside your application, when you do some modification inside, right? Over the time, these number of YAML files will also get increased, right? And I'm just talking about only one environment, right? Maybe you have the replica of your dev where you are just testing, then probably you are doing in some kind of pre-prod, and then finally you are rolling out to the prod, right? So let's say you have with the initial phase you have three files for each, right? So in total, if I'll calculate, it will be three YAML files, right? Which you need to manage. And if tomorrow you need to update something, you need to track all these files and then you need to do that particular modification in all YAML files. We have seen that how that problem can be overruled with the help of Helm, which is a package manager for the Kubernetes, which can manage our application as a complete package standalone. In the end of video, we'll see what is the difference between the Kustomize and the Helm. Yes, Kustomize is also, as the name suggests, right? Customize, like which will manage your YAML files. And the best part for the Customize is it is managing your all manifest file in pure YAML file, right? It is just a declarative configuration management tool inside the Kubernetes, right? Which allows you customize your template free. There is no templating inside the customize, which we have seen in our Helm. Helm is a Go-based template language where we can just define some variables and then we can templatize then and then we can do that, right? But in customize, we don't have any templates, we don't have any variables, right? It's simply pure YAML file which it can track and it can manage. Now the question is, if it is a purely managing the YAML file, then what is the difference, right? Because here also we can manage our YAML file. Then why do we need a customize, right? So that is the main point we need to understand, right? See, sometimes what happens is there are common, let's say in this case, let's say your deployment.yml, right? Maybe you have that config map.yml where you are not passing, or maybe a secret.yml where you are not giving the exact certificates or something. That might differ based on your environment, right? But the deployment.yml where you are just giving your application detail, your labels and everything, that a possibility that the common for all environment, right? So instead of managing that the same YAML file for three environments, what we can do is we can manage one file and we can get leverage this customize, and we can manage we can build our application in three environments using the single file. That's where we have that this relation, right? So we just need to understand the relation between base file plus overlays. Overlays is nothing. If I'll just give you a simple analogy, right? What is base and what is overlays? Let's say you went to a pizza shop, right? Where you are just ordering for pizza, you can go and you can check, okay, what all uh, Pizza base is there, right? Pizza base is some kind of your, let's say your base, right? Where you can just get the pizza base. Overlays is something that the type of pizza, like whether you are opting for a veg, you're ordering for a non-veg, or maybe some other farmhouse or some other any kind of type, right? That is that base and order. So base will be the same, right? It will be a common for all order, right? That because we are going to use a pizza base. But overlays is something that is specific to your environment, right? Similarly, in our infra world also, in our DevOps world also, base is something which is common across all three environments, and overlays is something that is a specific configuration in respect of that particular environment, right? Maybe in pre-prod, let's say if I'll just give you a simple example, in the development, you are just testing your environment. Maybe you are good enough with the two replicas, right? In pre-prod, let's say you are just testing the performance and the load as well. The four replica is enough, right? Whereas in prod, you know that you have a high traffic application, right? So maybe you are running a 20 replicas, right? So what you can do is you can put that deployment.yaml file in the base so that it will gonna create a three environment using the same deployment file. But under overlays, what you can do is you can define the replica. For the dev environment, it would be 2, for the pre-prod it is 4, and for the prod it might be 20. That's what that base and overlays relationship for the customization. Custom. That is the most important part to understand the custom. That's why I just brought this point here. Let's see why Kustomize exists. Managing multiple YAML files in Kubernetes is hard because duplicating YAML file leads to error. That's what we just see. Maybe a deployment file is common, right? And if you are updating it, maybe you forgot in some of the environment. It's just a one file, right? But think from the long run perspective where you have that 50 plus YAML file, 100 plus YAML file for your single application, and just multiply with the number of environment. So you can think it is kind of nightmare where you can see, okay, that much of file I need to update. So in dev, QA, prod need different configs. You don't need to edit vendor or base manifest manually, right? So that's what that is why we need a customize. Similarly, the same problem we discussed in the Helm also, where the Helm helps us to package all YAML files into a single chart called for your application, right? That chart you can install as application, or maybe in Helm term, I would say release. You can just release, install that release, and you can have a multiple revision for a particular release. Customize solve with this the base. I just mentioned the base, original manifest, right? What are the original manifest you are getting? But if you want a customization on top of that, right? In Helm, we understood that we have something called values.yaml where we can pass that value. But there we were using a template. But here we don't have template. Here we need to deal with the purely YAML files, right? Then we have the overlays, which we just understood that it is a environment specific changes. Like we just took an example of the replica. If it is dev, might be the two replica is enough. Whereas in prod, it is might go up to 20, right? Because if you run this all environment, right? So unnecessary you are wasting your resources. You are running a 20 replica just for the development environment, which might you don't need in actual, right? You're just testing where you are developing your application, then maybe two or four replica is more than enough. So that's where the customize helps you to push that kind of configuration which is environment specific, and you can uh, get the benefit of this relationship, which is base plus overlays. Okay, now we need to understand patches also, right? I don't want to bring this as of now. First, we need to understand how exactly the customize works. Then probably I will take you to through with the what patches is. Let's understood its customization, how customization work, right? So customization is not something that directly it can deal with your YAML file. No, there is something has to be there which purely will tell you your customize. Okay, you need to deal with all these YAML files, right? And there comes this customization.yaml file. Because when you run that command, right, maybe as a kubectl subcommand or maybe as a standalone CLI, it will look for this customization.yaml, and whatever the base file, whatever the overlays file, whatever the other files you want to do for this, all these, that will you need to mention inside our customization.yaml file. So this is a kind of structure, you can say, a directory structure which these YAML files follow for a customize. Where you can see that, let's say I am dealing with my application. This is the base directory where I can put the default deployment.yaml, default service.yaml, or maybe another other configuration file which you want to keep as a base, right? Which is a common across all environment. And this application I am going to deploy in two environment. One is the development and one is the prod environment. And these are few basic uh, uh, another kind of configuration file or another additional configuration file or the manifest file for my environment where I want to apply only to a specific environment. In this case, it is a dev, and in the second one case, it is in prod, right? There also you need to mention this customization.yaml file, because this is the file you need to mention everywhere whatever the YAML file you want to track or you want to manage with the customize, right? So customize knows only the customization.yaml file. Apart from that, whatever it is there, you just need to mention inside this, then only the customize will read, otherwise it will not gonna read. In fact, if you don't put this file inside your directory and if you directly run customize, it simply spit it out that there is no customization.yaml file. I cannot deal with it. Right? So this is the entry point. This is the main file you can say for the customization to work. You can see that it is mentioned already there. Customization will look for the customization.yaml file. Within this file, we mention the all resource manifest file which we want to manage with it. If you have few common parameters like transformers and maybe you want to apply to that particular environment, right? I will explain what transformer is, and maybe then the other thing is, then all these configuration, all these properties you just need to mention inside the customization.yaml file, right? So that's what a uh, customize is, and the base and overlays relationship is. Now let's come back to what patches is, right? So there are few transformers, right? Maybe I'll just bring this to in our notepad file. Let's say you have this deployment.yaml file, right? And you don't, you are not putting any kind of labels here, right? What you can do is you can define the customization.yaml file. Let's say this is customization.yaml file for your overlays, and this is for the dev. Fine. What I have done is I can put some, let's say, name prefix. So what will happen is whatever the name you have given for the deployment.yaml, when this manifest will be implemented, this configuration will be deployed, this deployment name for this base directory will be prefixed. Let's say if I just put here dev, and let's say for this my name is my app. So what will happen is the final name what it transform is dev. If I just give a hyphen as well, dev hyphen my app. Similarly, if you have this thing for your prod, so what will happen is here I just want to say it will be kind of prod, and here I will say prod, and this will be prod as well. So you can see that it will be easy for you to identify once this deployment is done. Okay, what is the deployment is it is for development, and what is the purpose of that particular deployment, and this is for the prod environment. So these things we have many transformer already there in, you can just refer that particular document I have mentioned here. Like we have the common annotation, we have the namespace, we have the name prefix, name specifics, right? I have already done this in, you can see that I have commonly mentioned used transformer also I have mentioned, and we have included few of them in our demo as well, right? So these are the transformer which you need to do. But sometimes what happen is there are few other things. If you want a granular customization, right? Maybe there are few things which you don't want to manage with this, right? Or maybe there are few things which transformer cannot help you to modify for a particular environment. So there we have something called patches. So patches will help you to inside. Let's say if you want to apply a label, right? You can put that label in this customization.yml, and that will be applicable only to the deployment. Similarly, for the customization.yml, that will be applicable only to the prod, right? And if you want that, put that label inside this, that will be applicable to all its stuff, right? But if you want to manage that thing which you just want to do only in dev, right, on top of this overlays customization, and maybe on top of this deployment.yml, so there the patches will help you. I have mentioned as well. So patches is something, customize is another way. It is also a kind of another way which can help you to modify the Kubernetes config. Unlike common transformers, patches provide a more granular approach to target one or more specific config or objects to modify the same in the Kubernetes config, right? That's what that patches is. We have the three types of patches we will see one by one, but before that, let's understand what are all these common transformers. So we can see that name prefix, names prefix, it's just to modify the resource name. You can put the labels and common labels, global labels, common annotation, image if you want to override for a particular container, config map generator if you want to generate some config map, and replica, namespace, resource, Helm chart, where, build. So these are few commons transfer. If you want more details, then I strongly recommend go to this URL and you can explore this, right? If I'll just copy this and if I'll just open our, no, it's not pasting. Okay, now it's done. Okay, if you see this, so here you can see that we have few transformer already. If you go to the built-in, so here you can see that annotation transformer, which can help you to put this common annotation. We have the config map generator. We have this image tag transformer. So you can go through all these stuff and you can get all these thing. And these are the few transformer as well here as can you can put inside this. Like you have, let's say you have the name prefix, you have the namespace, how you can all you can put inside your customization.yml, like that you can put, and it will gonna read those information from your customization.yml and will apply to the same to your deployment, right? So before I start this customization build and that thing, so there are two things. One is, okay, I think I lost my master node. Let me see. Okay, it has restarted. So I need to wait and then I will come back. Okay, there was some issue with the master node. I just rebooted it and it will come up in few seconds. Meanwhile, I was just explaining that there are two ways, right, to deal with the customize. One is that I just mentioned that there is a kubectl sub command mentioned, or it is already there as a part of your kube. CTL installation as a cube ADM cluster, right? And there is a dedicated as well CLI which you can install and you can use it. So in both ways you can, if you don't want to install a dedicated CLI, then you can use this customize as a kubectl subcommand. But if you want to deal with the more advanced thing with the customized CLI, you can go and you can install it, right? But for that you need to install it. Maybe it is not a default version or maybe a latest version of your customize. So in that way you can go and you can install the customize. I will show you the both options here. Let's come to our notes. So you can see that once we have this directory structure is ready, right? I will show you one simple directory structure. So what I have done is I have created a few demos for today's thing, and I have created a dedicated directory called customized demo inside our labs. So here you can see I have a simple deployment.yaml, I have this customization.yaml, and I have this service.yaml. So these are few default config file, right? Here you can see that this is simply a Nginx running with the latest, and this is just it's purely a deployment we have seen many times, so I will not go in deep. And this is a service YAML file which is just exposing that uh, application on port 80, right? Now these are the basic deployment or the manifest file which we just need to do. Let's focus on this customization.yaml file. So here what I have done is these two lines are purely optional. If you don't want to mention it, don't mention it. You can simply skip it, right? When you run a customize, right, kubectl customize, I mentioned that it will look for the customization.yaml. And in that file, you need to mention, okay, what all resources you want to manage with your customize. So here you can see with the customization, I want to deal with these two resources file. So this way you need to mention resources and then you just need to give a path. Since for me, it is sitting in the same directory, so I just directly mentioned that file name, right? Now I want to apply a common annotation. If you see this, there is no common annotation. If you, I just want to, uh, uh, here you can see there is no common annotation for my deployment, right? And I want to apply to this. So I mentioned that if you directly putting something, not something, these transformer in the main customization.yaml file, then that will be applicable across all deployment, all resources, whatever you are going to deploy. Similarly, for the labels also, you can see I have mentioned this. I am just pairing this with the current label, whatever I am putting, and include selector equal to true. This line means if you set it to true, right, what will happen is this pair of your label will be applicable to all other, like it will be uh, uh, mentioned on this as well, and it will be mentioned on this. If you put it false, then it will be just applied to the deployment metadata, not to all selectors. That is the thing. This is the name suffix only, prefix if you want to. Prefix is like app hyphen customize hyphen app, and then at the end it will be ending with hyphen prod. I'm gonna use this image. Whereas you can see in the deployment file, I am just mentioning the latest, but I don't want to deal with the latest. I want a specific version of my Nginx. So what you can do, you can just specify that, okay, name equal to Nginx. We'll look for the container with image name this. This name is not the name of your container. This name is the name of your image. So here you can see it is a Nginx. And what is the new name I want to give? I want to give the same Nginx. What is the new tag you want to give? Here the tag was latest, but I want to deal with 1.22 version. And I want to deploy it in namespace called prod. Here I am just dealing with the one replica with the Nginx deploy, but I want to name to that particular thing is a replica of 2, right? That's what we can do. Similarly, in the service, I also this if you want to deal something with this, then you can go and you can mention all these things about unit, right? Now let's see if our master is back now. Okay, yeah, it's up and running. Maybe the network is coming up. So now what I will do is we will gonna let me close this. We'll gonna see this. So if you are using a dedicated directory like customize build, right? Then you can just see it is a kind of dry run, right? It will not gonna exactly implement anything. It is just give you, okay, if you want to see what exactly the customize will be happening, then you can just run. If you want to as a sub command as a native, you can use kubectl customize and then you can give your application directory where you will have that customization.yaml file, right? Now let's come back. Okay, it's again crying. Okay, let me become a root and now we'll go to a CKA labs and customize demo. Yeah, we are good now. Let me just make it a little big. So here you can see I have these demo defined, right? So here you can see I have already installed this customize, and if you just see wanted to see a CLI version is customize dash dash version, and it will show you okay version is not it is only a version without a dash dash. So it will just show you the version of your customize. And if you want to see another thing, right, then what you can do is you can just run this customize dash h and it will show you what all other options we have. Like we have the build a customization target from a directory or URL. Then we have the completion, create, you can also do a current directory, right? Help localize. So all these options are already there, which you can just go and maybe follow the document and then you can get will all what is doing. Now I'm gonna run this kubectl customize and I just give a demo one. Okay, it is saying Nginx deploy does not match a config with the following. Yeah, maybe there is some mismatch, I believe. Let me see. If I'll go to the demo one, we have this deployment.yaml, and here we have the name is customize app. Then from where it is coming, let's see in customization. Okay, so there is a typo here. It must because here we are saying okay, you need to give a replica of to for which deployment this, but it is not finding that, right? Then that's why it is crying. So let's apply this again. I'll you can run this command from outside, or if you want to run from the inside, what you can do is kubectl customize and you can just say dot. So what you are saying is, hey customize, go and look that customization.yaml file in the current directory, right? So now you can see what it is saying is, it is saying that okay, for the service, if I just want to show you here, not deployment, the customization, right? Let's come back. What I'm saying is common annotation, right? In the service file, if you remember, we don't have any common annotation. But in the customization, we have put common annotation. So what it has done is it has added this. You can see that, right? This annotation, it was added for the service as well. And let's see for the deployment also, you can see it was already added. Let's see for the labels, it is saying team path for cloud. So if I just show my labels, for this, if I just want to see, you can see for the service as well, it is added. And if I just for show you the for the deployment also, the same label was already added, right? And if you see the name of that deployment, it has prefixed with app1 hyphen and it has suffixed with the hyphen prod. Same way, in the deployment file, we were using a latest image, but in customization, I'm saying you need to use this image. So you can see if I'll just scroll down for the container, it is using that image. And namespace, it is using a prod, that also we are can see. And replica, if you see in the deployment, it was mentioned as 1, and here it is 2. So you can see our customization is working well, right? Let me come back and let's clear my screen. And if you want to create it, what is the next command you want to see? You can see once it is just a dry run, right? It haven't created anything. If you just want to see, there is no pod running as of now. Or maybe if you want to see in the prod, you can see no resource found in the prod namespace as well, right? Because that's what we are doing. We are saying, okay, you need to deal in the prod. Now, to deploy the config, we need to run. If you want to run this customized CLI, then you just need to run the same command and you need to pass this output to the kubectl apply as a input and it will gonna apply. Whereas if you want to run as a sub command for the native kubectl apply, instead of -f, we were passing the file. Now we need to give for the -k, and which stands for the customize again. And you just need to give the directory. Let's see if I just say kubectl create -k dot. So you can see it has created a service app v1 this one. It has created deployment app v1 this one -prod. And if I just show you the ports, okay, it was in prod, right? Not pod, prod. You can see I have two replica up and running. If I just want to show you everything from each namespace, you can see in the prod namespace I have two pod running. In the prod namespace I have one service running, and this is the namespace it has deployed, and this is the replica set, and this is the deployment, right? And if you want to see k get deployment -a, so here also you can see we have the prod inside this, and 2 out of 2 is running, right? So that was the simple demo with the customization, where you can just go and you can check, okay, how exactly it is being doing, and it is going to deal with your different thing, right? So let's quickly do one thing. Let's delete it and let's take our demo on one level up. Okay, I'm gonna delete this stuff. It has deleted. Now if you go, you don't have that particular deployment. All right, now let's come back to demo 2. So in demo 2, what I'm saying is I'm following the structure which we just discussed in our notes, right? This is the structure customization follow, and this way it will give a relationship between the base and overlays. So what I have done is I have few deployment files which I manifest file which I have put under the base directory, and I am dealing with the customization.yaml file under base. Okay. Now I have the overlays, which I just want to give us some kind of toppings on our each uh, like common deployment, common manifest file on the basis of the our environment. If it is dev environment, do this. If it is prod environment, do this. And we have already discussed these transformer and the patches, right? So for patches, we have a different scenario. I will discuss that as well. But let's try to understand first this base and overlays relationship for the customize. Let me show you. I'll go back to VS Code. Let me delete it, close it, and I will go to the demo 2. Here, if you see this base, right? So base, again, a same deployment, same service file. Under the customization, there is nothing special. I'm just doing the same thing. I'm just calling my resource, and this is the common annotation I am applying, and this is the label I am applying. That's it, right? But under the overlays, if I'll go to the dev environment, I have a dedicated customization.yaml file. What it is saying is you need to go for the resource because it is two directory level up. If you go one up, you reaches to the this one, and if you go up, you reaches to the demo 2 where we have our this base directory. And under the base directory customization, no, you have this customization.yaml file where we have this deployment.yaml and service.yaml. I am applying this label again, this team path for cloud, which was already there, I think. Okay, it is for the dev also. Maybe you can remove it. But the name, suffix, and prefix, you can see within this demo, I have taken these two transformer for the particular environment. I am saying dev and name prefix is app1. Similarly, for the dev environment, I am going to use the latest image and I am deploying this in the dev namespace with a one replica. Whereas if I show you for the prod one, you can see the almost everything is same except few. For the prod environment, I'm not going for a latest. Might be a latest image is having some bug. Before that, I want to test, I want to do some kind of POC on that particular thing. That's why I am deploying a latest image of that application in my development environment and I do a thoroughly testing. If I everything is good, then maybe I'll slowly gradually move it to the latest version of that particular. And I'm going to deploy it in prod environment and with the two replica. Right? So that is the demo 2 structure. If I go back to the our what do you call it, cluster, right? So here we have this. Now the thing is, earlier when we were doing, right, simply what we were doing is kubectl customize hyphen customize, and I'm just giving the my demo directory, and what it is doing is it is just giving me the build, what exactly it is going to build. But now if I go and I simply say to, you can see what it is saying is unable to find one of the customization.yaml file in a directory called this one. Remember, you need to give a full path where your customization file is sitting. So in this, I don't have, if you see this demo 2, I don't have any customization.yaml file. I have these file inside a base directory or a overlays directory. So if you want to do it for a specific to your environment, so what you need to do is let's create it hyphen k demo2 and overlays, and I want to give for dev environment, because under dev I have my customization.yaml file and it has created my deployment. If you go and if you just give this uh, okay, what is happening, because we don't have any deployment in the default namespace. I just want to see for this, for if I just say kget deployment hyphen a hyphen o wide. So here you can see, you will just scroll a little right side. So let me run it one more time. So here you can see that for the dev environment we have given is app1 was the prefix and dev was the suffix, and I was running a one replica with the image called latest. Right, this is what I am doing, and these are the few other thing: app equal to customize app, team equal to path for cloud, the another label I am putting. Right, now let's quickly create uh, a prod deployment using customize. So again, I need to give the full path where I have all these things. Now it has created, and if I run the same thing again, now you can see it is up and running. So let me do one more time. Yeah, now you can see I have this prod namespace. Under this, I have this app1 customize app, but it was dev, it is prod. And I'm running two replica with the image called 1.22. So you can see with the demo 2 also we were able to successfully customize our thing on the basis of our environment, right? So that's what you can do in this. You can define a dedicated customization for your environment. I could have put all these things in a main customization.yaml, but that will be applicable to each and every deployment, whatever we are going to do. But I want a customization, I want a specific value for a environment specific. So that's where I have put in dev and prod, right? So that was the demo 2. Now come to the demo 3. For the demo 3, we have discussed the same thing. We have the base, we have the overlays, the same thing we have. There is one more thing we have, something called patches, right? So what patches is basically? Patches is something, let's say you want to, uh, let me open that deployment.yaml file. Okay, let's say you want to deal with this container port, right? You want to replace this with something else, or maybe you just want to deploy with this for a particular name. Image maybe you can do, right? But with the there is no transformer which can help you to replace this name. For that, we have the patches, which is giving you a more granular kind of way where you can go and modify your Kubernetes config already, which is already there. We have three types of patches. This is the most commonly used patches option for patch type in a customize, which can deal with either of YAML or JSON. It is most flexible, recommended for new projects, supports inline patches, external file, remote patches, and fine-grained targeting. Inline patches, I will tell you what it is. External file, that is also in our demo. Remote patches, I will tell you what it is doing. And fine-grained, we have understood, right? If you want to do some a specific inside one of the deployment, right? Not for all. Let's say we were saying, okay, with this customization.yaml, if I'm just putting this, let's say for this namespace, right? It will be applicable to all deployment, all everything. Maybe this label, right? This label will be applicable to each and every manifest file or each and every object resources under the dev directory. But if you want to put this label only for one particular manifest or particular object, right? That's where the patches help you, right? You can, that's the granular way, right? You can go and dig that particular thing on where you want to apply that, and that's where you can do. So inline patches is something that you are just giving the operation in inline, right? In the line itself, you're saying, okay, what object I need to do. We have few operations. I will explain what are those, and we have something called external file is, instead of mentioning all these things inside your customization, what you can do is you can put all these in file, and that file can be called inside your customization. So here you can see, instead of giving the path of your to your object or to your property, I am just giving the path of my file. The same thing in the file also, I'm doing the same thing, right? But it's just a two types, so I just thought to bring here. Patches can deal with the JSON and the YAML. That's what the main point is. Whereas we have the JSON 6902 patches, which can deal only with the JSONs, right? And it has some operations which you just need to do. We have the patches strategic merge, which can deal only the merge. So I think these two are already deprecated, because when we were testing, when I was testing this project, I was getting some warnings, right? I will show you, and it is giving some kind of prefix or maybe a fix for those as well, right? Because customization is recommending to use the patches, not the other, these two patches type. So here I am just explaining what is inline and patch file method. In patches, most used is production inline method compatible with GitOps and automated pipeline. That's why we are giving the inline method, right? That is the mostly. And to deal with the inline method, we have few operations here. You can see we have the add, like you want to add a new field or in the list item in that particular manifest file, or you want to replace which is already there, but you want to change that with the new value. If you have the remove, you want to remove which is not required, you can go and simply delete that. If you want to copy, move, test, these are very less used, but these are the common operations which you generally find in the customization.yaml file. Like with the patches, if you want to add something, you want to replace something, or you want to remove something, right? And what are the target you can target for you can target the any kind, maybe it is deployment, service, config map, secrets, whatever you want to do. That's where you can dig more and you can perform any of the operation on that particular parameter. You can deal with the name, you can deal with the namespace, group, versions, label selector, and the annotation selector. These all things you can do. Now let's see how we can do with this stuff for the patches. Okay. So we have understood the demo part here. If I'll just go back with the dev, what I am doing is I am just doing the same thing, right? But instead of doing this, what I am, let's open this base.yml. Where is that option? No, 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 no. Open to the side. So what I am saying is, okay, whatever I am just adding one more environment, right? If you see that there is nothing in this array, if you go to the customization also, here you are not, you are adding only one label called team path for cloud, right? But I want to deal with one more label inside this deployment if I am just deploying it in the dev environment, and that is something environment equal to dev, right? It is a environment specific, it's not a label, it is an environment which I am introducing inside that. And how you can define, okay, where it needs to add it, right? So just see that you want to add it for that metadata label, right? You can see that this is the spec version. Under spec you want to deal with the template, because this replica selector and template, they are at the same indentation. So I can simply say spec template, and then the under metadata, under labels, I want to give a new label called environment where the value will be the dev, right? I'm forming the second operation is replace, where I just want to replace this name to a different name. And how you can deal with this? Again, spec template. Under template, again we have the spec. Under spec we have the containers, and we have then name. Now you can ask, okay, what is this zero? Right? If you understood, or if you have seen my that understanding YAML structure video in this series, you should know this is a list, right? Under a container, this is a list where you can define multiple containers. So I am just defining one container here, and this is the index value of that list, which is starting from the zero. So what I'm saying is, under container we have a list, and under the list index value 0, where we have the name, replace that name with the value called web app. That's what I am doing here. I don't have anything which if let's say you have that resources here, right, and you want to delete those, what you can do? op is nothing, it's a operation. And what operation I want to perform? I want to perform remove. Same, the path will be the same, right? Spec template, spec, container, and the under zero, that means that the first container, and you can simply specify that resource which will be a part of this list, and you can remove that entirely, right? This is inline patches. If you want to define with the external patches, right, how you can do with this external patches? You can see I'm just saying, okay, here I'm targeting, here was the target was kind was deployment, right? And that deployment name was this one. Whereas in the target, I have a target is service, and I want to deal with this name of the service, because if you see, I have this customize app service name, right? And where is that deployment customization? Okay, I want to patch from this file for this service, and under this file what I'm saying is I'm again saying the replace, right? What I am replacing is, if you go to the service file, here you can see that I don't have anything called node port. Similarly, spec ports, And again, we have multiple ports, then it is again a list. So we need to specify the index value called 0, and I'm replacing that particular. So replace operation is something, if it find that particular thing, it will gonna replace. If it will not find, it will just simply add that. Right? So here this node port will get added under this, and it will be rendered as a single service file. Right? So that was the dev environment. If I'll go for the pre-prod, so here you can see it is almost the same, but what I just want to show you that here we have a different strategic type. I don't have that patch type as a patches, whereas I'm just dealing with the patches strategic merge, which can just accept your YAML file. And if you see these YAML file, we have the same thing. In this YAML file, what you need to do is you need to give the entire YAML file. You cannot pass that particular YAML file like we have done for this, because this is accepted only as a patches type. If you deal with the patches strategic merge, then you need to define your YAML file in literally in a YAML manifest file. But in this, you can skip the other thing which you don't want to deal, right? Like here you can see what I'm saying is I'm just adding a resource here, right? If you want to see this deployment file in real, it looks like this one. Under spec, I'm just directly starting with the template. I'm not putting any replica or the selector. That's why it is crying. If you go, it is saying missing property selector, right? So that's what in the patches file, you just need to mention this is the target which we have already seen in the patches type, and this is the path spec template spec container, and this is the container, and under this container I am just putting this resources which is not there, right? So that's how that you can deal with this, how you want to do it. Similarly, we have this service patch where I'm just replacing that particular thing. So in this, what I'm doing is I'm replacing what? I'm just replacing this port. If you see, I have this target port as well, right? So what I'm saying is basically, let me take it here and I will take that here. Not this one, this one. Basically, what I'm saying is under port, replace the entire stuff. Here we have this list, but replace this with this only port 80. So at the end, it will gonna remove it. That is the what? That is something called patches strategic merge. And if you have multiple file, then you can just give as a array. You can just keep on adding, and it will gonna read those. Now let's see for the something called production. So under production, you can see I'm just using the patches JSON 6902. Here also you can do the same thing, right? You can just simplify your target, what target and what operation you want to do, and this can accept your file. So this JSON 6902 and patches is almost same, but since I mentioned this is something that was getting warning when I was checking, but you can keep this, and there is a way you can update this, right? I will show you that as well. You can update these patches type inside your customization.yaml file, and simply we are doing the same thing, right? So now let's come to a demo 3, and I will show you how it is going to work. Okay, what is happening? There is something wrong with the machine now. I need to log in again, and I need to go to the path called CKA Labs and the Customize demo. Okay, let me clear my screen. So yeah, here we have the demo 3. I simply say kubectl. Let me see what we have. If I have anything, then probably I just need to remove. Yeah, we have something. So I just simply go and clear the previous demo stuff. Overlays dev. It is deleted, and there was prod. Okay, now I'll go and first I will just build it. Okay, I will just run it as a dry run. So kubectl customize, and I will say demo 3 overlays, and we have the dev. So here you can see what is happening is, if I'll just show you the demo 3 dev customization. What it is doing is it is just giving using the base deployment, adding all these label, prefix, and everything. We can see that app1 was a prefix, dev was a suffix, right? And it is using that namespace, it is dev. Let's come to this patches. So under patches, what I have done is I have added a new property, new label called environment. So let's see, do we have that for this? We have added for this one for a container, right? So if you go, you have the spec, you have the template, you have the metadata, and you have the label. And there you can see I have a new value called environment dev, which was never introduced in the customization, which was never introduced in the default deployment.yaml. But with the help of patches, you can see I have granularly added only and only for what? Only for this particular container. Similarly, replace is something I am just replacing the name called web app, whereas it was a app, right? I have this service type as well where I was adding a node port. If you go and you can see this is the service, these all are coming from the common customization.yaml file. I don't have that environment equal to dev because that was only for the container. But if you see for this, I have added this node port. So you can see this has added from that patches file. So that's how this works for your patches. Right? Similarly, if I just go for a pre-prod, I believe, uh, there is a problem with this service patch mail for me. Okay, there is a issue within service patch YAML file. Let me quickly see what it is. CD, or maybe I would say Vim demo 3 overlays pre-prod and service patch.yaml. Okay, it is not working. Maybe. Patch replace, it should work. Okay, meanwhile, maybe I'll just remove it and I'll simply try to apply it. And this way you can see it has passed my information. Now, if you see here, we were using a patches strategy merge. And I mentioned when I was testing it, it was giving me warning, and this is the warning it is saying it is deprecated. You can use a patches instead, right? So patches is a default now which can accept all these uh, types. And if you want to update it, you can simply go inside that directory where you have this customization.yaml, and you can simply run this customization edit fix, which will update your customization already automatically, right? Now, if you see with the same thing, what was the for the pre-prod? It was this one, and it is for the patch container. You can see I was just adding some request here, resource request and limit. And if I'll simply go to my container, you can see indeed we have added all these resources, right? And let me go back to demo 3 overlays pre-prod. And if I just say customization.yaml, as of now it is using this, right? It was saying you can use that something called customization edit fix. And if I run this, so probably it will gonna fix my patches. Here you can see that it has done something. Maybe to update your customization automatically. Fixed field was this one, and if I just now custom cat my this, so you can see it has changed that strategic type to this one patches, right? Everything was same, but only this part was changed. Earlier it was like this. Now it has fixed this two patches, these two patches, common labels to the label. So these things, whatever that on the left hand side, those are deprecated, and it is saying if you want to fix automatically with the help of this command, it will automatically fix this, right? And now you can see we have this new type, right? Now let go back and one more. And if I just want to see my the production, it is demo 3 overlays and the prod one. Similarly, here also you will get the warning and you can simply run this edit fix, which will gonna fix this thing. So let's see what we are doing in the production customization.yml. I am just adding a value called prod and I'm replacing this name to web app. That's what we have done. And the service path YAML, we have added a target port. We are just removing it. Okay. Now let's see whether it is applied or not. So for the service, you can see we don't have target port. So that means that it has removed this from my port under 0, indexing is 0 and it has removed it. The second part was we were adding few label for our template, right? For our container. Here you can see it was added environment equal to prod and it has replacing the name from app to web app. So for prod also we are good to have all these things, right? So this is how that you can take a leverage of your environment specific customization.yml file, right? You have these common cost deployment file. You can put it under where you can put it under the base directory, and then whatever the specific to your environment you can put inside your different environment, right? This is the common one and this is for the different specific environment. Now the next question is, let's take this scenario, right? Now we have this different directory. We have splitted a common deployment or the manifest file, and then we have a dedicated file as well for our this one, right? But what if still you want a few thing which you want only for a specific environment, right? How you can define that? Because if you gonna define that particular thing in customization.yml file, right, that will be applicable only to this. And if you want, let's say in this environment, what I'm saying is I want a three additional manifest, any additional object, additional resource. One is the logging, one is the HPA, which is nothing horizontal pod or scalar, and the hardening, right? I want logging and scaling to be applied to a pre-prod environment so that I can see the performance of my application. Whereas for the hardening, I just want to apply to the prod, right? And in the development environment, I don't want to this. I just want to focus on the development, right? So there is one way you can go to this customization.yml. You can deploy this logging.yml, hpa.scaling.yml inside your each environment, right? For the dev, if you want, for dev, we don't want anything. But for the pre-prod, if you want, you can go and simply deploy this YAML file. For the prod you want, again you can go and you can deploy all these YAML file in the prod. But if technically it will be working, right? Nobody is going to stop you. It will gonna work perfectly. But again, we are losing our principle. What principle? Because we use customize to remove a duplicacy, right? We don't want to use a same manifest file again and again in a different environment, right? So what you can do is you can introduce something called components. So what component is exactly is? Component is something which we can help you to extend these files to a different environment. Like here, what I can do is I can put this here. You can see under component, I have only this hardening, and under hardening, I have only this. I have the logging under this. I have the scaling under this. So wherever you want to
introduce these additional manifest and additional resource or the object, you can just include that inside a component, and that way you don't need to use a duplicate YAML file for a environment specific as well, right? But there is a type is common here, because if you see for a default customization, I am using a kind as a customization, right? But whereas for the component, if you see, I am using kind as a component with the same API, right? What I'm doing is for the customization, again, I am using a patch, which is a security context.yaml, and this is something that what I'm like whatever the deployment you want to add, right? You can just put that thing here. Similarly, for the logging, it is a component, and again, I am just putting some log labels. I'm just adding this label called to a particular deployment, a will name called web. For the scaling also, if you see, it is a component, and I'm just simply installing doing it. So here you can see, if you want to include a direct resource file, you can go and you can install. If you want to apply some patches as well, that can also be done using the component. So here you can see, you can do this with the patches or the patch strategic merge, whatever the patch type you are going to use. But at the end, one day you need to migrate everything to the patches. But I just introduced here or included it here, like we can still use this, but since we are getting warning, so it is migrated from, it should migrate from to a patches. For the scaling, you can see this is the simple scaling file, HPA horizontal pod autoscaler, and this is the customization.yaml file. Now we have defined this component, right? Now the question is, we have this resource file under this, right? You can see that simply it is looking for this. If you go to for the dev as well, we have the customization, and you can just target to the base directory like this, right? Whatever you are doing. But now the problem is how you will gonna deal with this component file, because here you have this, and if you want to see this, here we have this resources file. So how you will gonna deal with this component so that you can do this? Let's come to our table. I'm saying for the development environment, I don't want these additional object. I want only this for which one? I want only for the pre-prod. So let's see the customization.yaml. Here you can see. This is the same which we have just seen so far. This is the resources, the base directory I am targeting. Apart from that, I am just referring to the component as well, where I just want to, whatever the additional you want to include, you can just include that. Under component, you can see we have the logging, we have the hardening, and we have the scaling. But with the help of this, I want to include only the logging and HPA for my pre-prod environment, and that's what I am doing. This is for the pre-prod customization.yaml, and I'm just referring the logging and the scaling. Whereas if I want to see the prod one, where I want to include all three these additional object, I'm just referring to the all three. So this way, what will happen is this additional thing will be applicable only and only where you are referring. Right? So that's what the component is, and component is a very powerful feature that lets you reuse your optional plug and play configuration pieces across multiple environment, right? Because if you can do this thing for without a component, right? But that way, what will happen is it will add to each and every resource for that particular environment. And if you want not for a particular environment, then you can just keep these YAML files in each environment specific directory. But there we will need to manage again, what? Again, a duplicate YAML file for each and every environment. But this way, we just need to deal with one YAML file, and with the help of component, we can refer to whatever the environment we need. Right? So let's quickly see the demo for this, and then we will wind up for today. So I have this demo for, what I will do is I will just quickly run kubectl customize demo for overlays, and I just simply go for the dev. So for dev, you can see that it is simply deploying only the service file and the deployment file. I'll not go with all these environment which we already discussed, right? Now,
Let's deploy a pre-prod environment. For the pre-prod environment, if you see our table, what we are saying is we need additional logging and we need additional HPA. So here you can see what it has done is it has deployed a service, it has deployed a deployment where it has added this feature label called log level debug, which was not there for this. And the other one is the horizontal pod autoscaler, right? Similarly, for the prod, it must deploy all three. So let's see, we don't have this hardening. So what I will do is I will go and I will quickly do it for prod. And here you can see it has deployed a service, it has deployed a deployment with the log level, and where it has included my security context, and it has deployed my horizontal pod. This option was not there for your pre-prod, right? But for prod, we have introduced this. So that's where the component help you much, right? That where you can do that, okay, what exactly you want to achieve for a particular thing. That's how you can deal with this stuff. Now, there is one thing. I just want to discuss this like what is the difference between the customize and the helm, because helm also we have discussed in our last previous video, right? So helm is something that which is helping you to because helm is a kind of package manager, right? Whereas the customize is a template free declarative thing. It is not using any kind of template or something. For the helm, we were managing our application as a package, but here we are just dealing with the YAML file and we are customizing those YAML file based on the environment specific. Here we don't have any template, whereas in Helm we were using the template. We were using the base chart and the uh, subcharts where we have the dependency, right? But here we don't have that. We have the base and the overlays and the component as well. This relationship we need to understand. Helm we need to install, but Cube in the customize, if you don't want to, this is a native as well with the Cube CTL you can use, or if you want, you can install a dedicated CLI for this. Whereas Helm was able to track your releases and version, but Customize cannot do that. Customize will only deal with the YAML file, right? That's how this is something you want. So if I come back to my uh, analogy again, which we started for the pizza base, right? Like we were discussing that the pizza, where you can see that okay, your base was the pizza and overlay was the type, and component is again a kind of the toppings which you just want to apply only a specific environment. So that's what a customize is, right? So yeah, that's it for the day, I believe. And we have almost done all of the topics. I will summarize what is left and I will discuss in the next video that stuff. But yeah, so far we are good. So let me summarize what we have done is we have introduced a customize, like what customize is and how it is being different from the Helm, and how customize, why customize we need, what is the challenge if we don't need use the customize, what is the structure of the customize, how it works, what is the relationship between the base, overlays and patches, and obviously the components which we just discussed. This is the basically a folder structure of your customize, where you can see how it works, it will do, and what are the transformer we have seen, what are the patches type we have seen, and obviously how you can run all these commands with the native kubectl customize, or if you have a dedicated customized CLI as well. Then we have seen a few common transformer and we have included in our demo, and we have already ran that demo and we have seen how it gonna parse those values to that particular thing. We have introduced these patches as well, where we have a simple patches, JSON 690, and the strategic merge as well we have seen in this our demo. And these are the operations we can perform with the patches. These are the target we can target with the more granular. And then we have finished our discussion with the component, where we have the additional toppings for each and environment if we want, right? So I hope that was informative and you learned something new. Then please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues so that it can reach to a wider audience, and that will help me. I will appreciate that. And maybe that's it for the day. I will meet you in the next video where we will see what we can discuss next. Maybe a stateful set I will bring, and then we'll wind up for this course with the troubleshooting and the upgrade of your cluster. All right. So I will meet you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.